he died, Jerry Baldwin got a whole lot more than he ever bargained for. Hovering above his own house, he witnessed his friend Grady vomiting on the ground. Then he observed blow by blow the paramedics' efforts to revive him, right down to the malfunction of their defibrillator and the arrival of a second ambulance. But that was just the beginning.
I was floating around. I thought, well, are they going to get anything done or not? I really don't care. And about that time, I seen the brightest light. And there was a tunnel. It seemed like it might have been 3 or 4 foot around. And the next thing I know, head first, I went into that tunnel. It seemed like I was going 100 miles an hour. In a distance out there, I could see the prettiest light you've ever seen. And it was just kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then all of a sudden, I just come out the other end. It was like you jumped in a swimming pool of milk, except it was light. And it just totally surrounded you. But right in the middle of that light was where I heard the voice. Somebody asked me later, how did I know it was God? I said, I just knew. I never seen his face, but the body was so bright. It was like shape of a body, but it was in just light. And he said, you got to go back. And I said, Lord, don't make me go back. He said, I'll give you a glimpse of what it's like, but you got to go back. And all of a sudden, he grabbed my hand, and we just went through the prettiest gate you've ever seen, and then down by a river. And then I ran up on some people standing by the river. And it was my mother, and my daddy, and my grandmother and them. Everything seemed to be perfect. But they all told me they loved me. And then all of a sudden, just like you snapped your finger, we were somewhere else. And it was the prettiest flowers I've ever seen, the prettiest music you ever heard in your life. I don't have the words in the English language to really tell you the peace and the love that I felt that day. And then all of a sudden, he said, I've showed you, I've got work for you to do. And then when he turned my hand loose, I was just like I was a bullet. I went right back through that tunnel.
About this time, Curtis and Buck, who were another paramedic crew, they came in the door to assist us. And Curtis just placed the paddles on his chest and shocked him. And that immediately brought him back.
They said I was clinically dead for 3.5 to 4 minutes, and it seemed like I was gone 3.5 to 4 months. Time just totally stood still.
Jerry's dramatic story contains several surprising details. How could he have seen his friend Grady from a side of the house with no windows? Or have seen the first set of defibrillators fail and a second team arrive with backup, all while he was clinically dead?
If near-death experiences were dreams, illusionary, or anything other than real conscious observations of their own body, you would expect their observations to be unreal, to be illusionary, dreamlike, but we're not seeing that at all. The overwhelming majority of the observations people make are absolutely accurate, down to the fine details.
Dr. Kevin Nelson disagrees. He believes out-of-body experiences like Jerry's are real memories that are actually manufactured by our brains during and even after a crisis.
With an out-of-body experience, when they're triggered in the laboratory, it's in a region called the temporal parietal area. And we think that that's where the vision, where our position sense is, where we sense our bodies, all that comes together in that region. So if it gets disrupted, then you don't know where you are. And what you will do is reconstruct from memory a visual map.
I think it's a fascinating argument. The problem with it, though, is that people describe events, specific events that took place, say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, into the process of death. When all our studies tell us the brain has shut down, there's not enough blood flowing into the brain, and they should not be able to gather any information.
As many times I've tried to tell people about it, I can't hardly tell it without crying. I was afraid people think I was crazy. Finally, after 9 years, I told 9 people 1 year, and all of them was terminally ill. I guess I thought in my mind, it's okay to tell them, because they can't stay here and tell anybody I'm crazy anyway, because they're dying. and I'll make it so much easier on them. Crossing will be lots easier. I guess it's sad when God gets to the point with a person that he has to strike you dead to get your attention. But that's what happened to me. I used to be hard-hearted and I always judged people. Now I can't judge people. But it's like a new beginning.
There's no debating the transformative effect of near-death encounters. But debate will most certainly continue over the reality of these experiences until science can provide answers that are accepted by everyone.
I'm not trying to explain these away. I'm trying to explain them because I do believe these are real brain experiences. These are experiences that transform how people live their lives and how they are going to receive death. They are some of the most powerful stories we'll ever hear as human beings. But to take interpretations that are beyond the brain, that's faith. That's not science.
I don't believe that near-death experiences are medically explicable at all. But even if there were a physiologic explanation that actually did account for near-death experience, then you still have this dramatic process that people describe, these dramatic experiences where they're more lucid than their everyday earthly existence. No matter what the cause of near-death experiences, they're still an amazing mystery.
It's nothing like a dream. That was probably the most real thing I've ever experienced in my life, and the most meaningful thing I've ever experienced in my life.
The doctors may have all kinds of answers, and you know what? I'm not a scientist. I can't argue that point. I can tell them what I know happened to me.
There's no doubt that there's chemical changes going on inside your brain when you're going through trauma. But you can't explain that I could go down to the cafeteria and overhear a conversation and be able to describe it word for word.
I'm not sure medical alone can explain it. In fact, the one thing I'm quite sure of is they cannot. I think of my life now as I have an incredible